And we are live. So, welcome everyone to webinar part two with our amazing guest and lead, Raphael. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here once again. I
Once
already told
again.
you, VIP member.
Yeah, VIP member indeed. So, this is hello, mate. So, this is part two because, part one was absolutely packed with content. So, during part one, we will be covered how to structure a CV, all the difference between a skill-based CV, a chronological CV. If you, by any chance, if you missed that, we have it in YouTube channel, in ChatGPT YouTube channel, in the Academy LinkedIn page, so you can try to review that. So we assume, correct me if I'm wrong, Raphael, for this one, that you've watched the first one, right? Because that was quite important. So, what are we going to be talking about during this part two?
Awesome. So I am also assuming that you all watched the seminar, the first part. So today we are discussing one of my favorite topics, which is LinkedIn for job seeking in tech.
Yeah.
I like to say that LinkedIn, it's the new CV. If you are not at LinkedIn, if you are not spending your time on LinkedIn, you will fall apart. Just before we move forward, I just want to share one very interesting and funny fact. I have relocated to Portugal in 2018. And before that, I probably found 3 jobs. So let's put it here from 2016. Every career move that I did so far, I did it via LinkedIn. So if you are not using LinkedIn as part of your job search strategy, please start doing this. And today we will talk exactly about that. One of the topics, how to optimize your LinkedIn, and moving forward, we will discuss about some very interesting hot topic, but we will get there. So if you didn't watch the first part of the seminar, you can go scan this QR code. We have some few resources for you to complementary to create the CV, to understand how create the chronological skill-based CV, plus a complete guide on how to optimize your LinkedIn. So you can do this on demand as well. Go there and pick up your resources. Okay. So as I was discussing here, the agenda for today, optimizing the LinkedIn. And then on the second part of the webinar, we will discuss the common interview steps that we currently have. This is based on the interviews that I am following up alongside 2024, based on 2023 as well. And also from some discussions with some partners from HR, from other hiring managers on how we are structuring hiring processes for 2025, but specifically for the role of software engineer. But yet, this can be extremely applicable to other tech roles. And then we will discuss the nuances about each step and how it applies for a specific role that you are applying for. So that's the agenda for today. And the goal is that you will leave this here first with your profile optimized from webinar part one, and then the full circle on creating your personal brand on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's do this. But why LinkedIn, right? I think that's a very interesting question. If I already spend a lot of time creating my CV, if I spent a lot of time doing this introspection exercise that put me out of my comfort zone and it was tricky as hell, why should I care with LinkedIn again? The reason it's very simple. Bear with me. Right now, this is data for 2024. We have 67 million companies actively using LinkedIn right now. On the other hand, we have 141 million active users accessing the platform in a daily basis. But what is the most important thing here is we have 30 million job postings right now in the platform. I'm not talking about tech jobs here in a
In
more
general.
granular way. 30 million jobs for 67 million companies. And interestingly enough, we have in a daily basis 12 million of job applications per day. So why should you use LinkedIn, you know? I do understand that you might have other forums like Indeed, Glassdoor, and many other job job posting applications out there, but you definitely want to be on LinkedIn. You definitely want to extend your job strategy to LinkedIn. Okay. And I was reviewing not only Zendesk's cases, as I mentioned to you in the previous live. I have opened 28 positions at Zendesk in the last 18 months, hired 27. And for the Zendesk case in specific, the majority of the candidates that we got sourced came from LinkedIn. The majority. And we are talking about more than 300 applications for my use case. However, statistically saying, LinkedIn has mapped that for every job open job that we have published in the platform, we have the average of 150 candidates. And then, as we mentioned on the part one, you need a profile that stands out. You need a profile that it's searchable, that creates presence, that creates visibility, that generates exposure. Because only creating this exposure, only creating this visibility, you can be part of this statistic. Okay, so please extend your strategy to LinkedIn. And today we will discuss from now on how to create a magnet profile on LinkedIn. Okay, you are now equipped with all the tools to create a profile. And now, basically, I like to say that we will build your new profile. LinkedIn is the new CV. 2025, you will get your new job through LinkedIn. You can write it down and then thank me later. Okay. I really like to say that.
Also, because sorry to interrupt you, something
Yeah.
very important that I've noticed when you do any job, application, even though assuming for a second that you apply through the company career page, so you don't even apply through LinkedIn, right? What is happening recently, quite often, whilst you're filling the form or the page or whatever that is, oftentimes there is an input field which is called your LinkedIn profile. So companies start to ask for you to put your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn profile is getting reviewed even if you don't apply via LinkedIn. So that's why companies really value that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's interesting because LinkedIn actually, I like to frame LinkedIn as your personal branding.
Yeah.
That's how you want to be seen in the community. It's your professional image. If we stop just a little bit to think about, like, imagine that we have a website and then we go on Google and perform a search like career coach in Lisbon. Basically, the way that you will get ranked in Google, it's how optimal your SEO strategy is. Search engine, search engine optimization. So the LinkedIn, it's exactly the same thing. Like, let's imagine that LinkedIn is a Google. It's the Google for professionals. Whenever I, as a recruiter, search for a specific term, search for a specific keyword. What LinkedIn will do behind the scenes, it's exactly the premise that we have on SEO.
Yeah.
It's basically connecting the relevant sentences, the relevant keywords to the profiles that have indexed these keywords. So, excuse me, we can keep this analogy in mind. If you want to create visibility, if you want to create exposure, you need to optimize, to be optimized for search engines. And the way that you do this is creating this magnet profile, is creating and establishing some connections, some keywords, preparing the content, linking strategically skills with experiences, with projects. It's your personal brand. Okay.
Yep.
Let's discuss this in detail now. So whenever I enter in a candidate profile, that's exactly what I will see. That's the first impression. We have a banner and we have a picture, right? And imagine that you are looking for a new car or you are looking for a new house. And then you enter in a site and this site is super sloppy. Like the images are in a very bad quality. You enter to buy a house, but you are not actually understanding what is happening there. Maybe they are also selling insurance or maybe mixing with selling cars or selling other stuff, you know. You don't know their unique value proposition. So the first thing that recruiters do when they access your LinkedIn, it's to create the bond. It's to establish what you do, your value as a professional with the person. It's the value comparing to the face. And this is exactly what we want to provide just at the beginning. This is how you want to be seen. Okay. So I have two tips here for you. The first one, let's start with the basics. Photography. You don't need a professional photography, but you indeed need a good looking photography. Like from your face, no backgrounds, no distractions. The pro tip here, whenever you upload the photography to LinkedIn, you can zoom in and zoom out. Play around with the zooming and frame your head until you take more or less 80% of the screen space, of the mask space that you will see there, because we want to see your face. And as relatable you are, for instance, giving a smile with a friendly expression, you know, the idea here is to create, to break the first barrier. It's to create the rapport. It's to say that you are approachable, that you are friendly, you are someone that it's up for a very nice conversation. Okay. And the second one, we can see two very specific banner examples here. The first one, it's on my side, like my unique value proposition. I am a career coach. So whenever you enter my profile, you will see that I help tech professionals to level up in their career. I make growth easy. You know, like you are entering my profile, you know exactly what you will find there. You know exactly what I am providing to you. But this is actually like a service, and maybe it's not that much relatable or applicable here, but yet we have an example here from this mentee that I was working with, which is a software developer. So basically, we created a banner. He was open to work, and we created a banner saying, okay, work with me. I am available, you know? And then we have very interesting chips popping here, Next.js, TypeScript, React, and how he wants to be identified, senior front-end engineer. So whenever I enter this profile, I know exactly who this person is and what kind of value I can take from this person. So the unique value proposition from the standpoint of a job seeker is, okay, I am seen as a senior software engineer. I have experience in Next.js, TypeScript, React.js. Work with me. Come on, get in touch. Okay?
Yep.
So that's the importance. This is how undervalued the banner and the photography is. I see people like using sunglasses or creating, putting some interesting, for the sake of better word, banners on LinkedIn. You are missing the opportunity. LinkedIn is not Facebook. LinkedIn is not Instagram. LinkedIn is not for you to share your personal hobbies. Maybe eventually, like pick one day in a week, because it's also nice to show you like your human side, your interest as a person, But this is a professional at work. So how do you put value on the table as a professional? Everything starts from here. And then we have the second most important part here. Remember that what I said. Everything it's a SEO. Everything is searchable. Everything is parsable. Everything is indexable. So whenever a recruiter is searching for something, this search will parse profiles from the headline, about me section, experiences, skills. Every text that you have on your LinkedIn makes your profile searchable. And the headline, it's just the confirmation of your banner. For instance, that person that you saw, it's Kyle. So we saw that beautiful banner, a very nice photography of Kyle. And then his tagline is senior front-end engineer and a bunch of keywords: Next.js, TypeScript, React, JavaScript, front-end developing, Unity testing, Node.js. So whenever people start searching about some of these terms, like front-ender with some specific skills, this is searchable. This is one way, like one formula to create. Kyle's one, like the desired role that you have. And something very important here, Stefano, is that most people, when they are writing their headline, they focus on the actual role that they have. So imagine I am an engineering manager. So engineering manager at, I don't know, Zendesk. But the thing is, LinkedIn is a powerful tool. It's a tool that you will move from where you are, and it will position you to get where you wanna be. So we can tackle definitely the actual role that you have, engineering manager at Zendesk, but we can also focus on your next step. So imagine that I am an engineering manager seeking for a director of engineering position. I can have here senior, I can have engineering manager at Zendesk, and then start extending the headline. Let's take a look on João's headline here. João, he's a senior engineer, and we are working together to position him as an engineering manager. And he's actually a team lead right now. It's a senior engineer with a team lead role. So basically, the way that we have positioned João's headline, software engineering team lead, tech leadership, moving teams from forming to performing, engineering management. Here we have a clear picture about the interests, João's interests, some very relevant keywords, how he delivers value. He likes to move teams from forming to performing, and he wants to step in the engineering management part. So it's the actual role, targeting for the future, using keywords. And for instance, like in a more weird maybe way, look at my headline. My headline, it's not for seeking for a job, but like I am searchable in the career part, like in the career mentoring part. So how I deliver value? I simplify your tech career growth from 0 to success. I have here some keywords. I am certified career and leadership coach, two very strong keywords: published author, humanist engineering leader, because this plays around my people-centric approach. So I am just reinforcing the idea of my banner. If we can back here, look how things connect together. If you look to my banner, level up your tech career, growth made easy. I simplify your tech career growth from zero to success because I am a certified career coach and a leadership coach, humanist engineering leader. And then it's a story. Like I
Yeah.
delivered the first punch, I reinforced this punch, and the story keeps going,
Storytelling. That's it.
Yeah, storytelling, exactly. And then the next very important section, if you are looking for a job, and this is actually very interesting, Stefano, because I have many people that come to me and say, "Oh, I will set my profile open to work, but I don't want my current employee know that I am looking for a new job." You know, so I will give you one very good reason to set your profile to open to work, plus a solution if that's your case. If you don't want no
Mhm.
one other than recruiters to know that you are looking for a job, we will also touch bases here. The first part, like I performed, if you see, I have an open to work on my profile for director of engineering, head of engineering, VP of engineering, and chief technology officer. And then I have run a very, very simple research for director of engineering in Lisbon. I have 2.9K results as part of my research. But this is, by the way, where you see these spotlights and the numbers. This is a screenshot taken from the recruiter, LinkedIn recruiter platform.
Mm.
Okay. So it means that we have 2.9 candidates for the job of director of engineering in Lisbon. But I have only 702 candidates tagged as open to work. And I can give my life here for this. Recruiters, the first click is 702. And that's because they just removed the objection. Basically, you are saying that you are open to work. You are
Yeah.
open for a new opportunity. So they just removed the friction about sending a cold message and waiting, like maybe I will have luck, hoping for the best that I found this good candidate, but they might not be very interested in discussing. When they click on open to work tab here, basically they have a friction free set of candidates. And this is, if you want to be part of this open to work tab, you need to set your profile as open to work. But Rafael, here we have two problems. Excuse me. The first problem here is if I set my profile to open to work, I will see that green label on my picture. And then basically you are exposing your strategy here, right? And we don't want that. Maybe you want, maybe you don't. Let's assume the worst, the most, not worst, but the most sensitive case. Like you want to set LinkedIn, you want to be seen by recruiters, but you don't want that your current employee knows that you are looking for a new job. The way that we can do this is basically you will click on add profile section, set the open to work. Excuse me. I thought that I had this here. Oh my God, my apologies. But basically, at the end, you will have, if you go to the guide that we have on the webinar resources, we have the
Mhm.
complete guide there. And this
All right.
information is present there. Okay. So basically, we have there, when we click to open to work, you will be inquired about some specific information, like let me know what roles you are actually open to work. And then you put there like senior front-end engineer, senior front-end developer, and blah, blah, blah. Another field, if you are open for remote work or on-site work, you will choose. You can choose both. And then by choosing the option, the work type, like on-site and remote, You are also able to select the region, and then you put the region.
Mm.
Imagine that we want to go UK and Lisbon. And then at the bottom, you will see, I want to see only recruiters or my entire network, entire LinkedIn or something like that. If you select that you are open to work only for recruiters, it means that your profile will be included here, but it will consider the company from your present experience. This has a direct link with the experience section. So if you have an
Interesting.
experience section there with some experience tag as present, people from this company cannot see your open to work status. But also no one on LinkedIn other than, like, imagine, let's exclude your current employee. Let's aim to the 70 100 million users that we have on LinkedIn. From these users, only users with, first, access to recruiter platform, as I have. Second, someone with a recruiter role in their experience can see your job. So basically, you mitigated, you solved the problem about creating the visibility for people that you actually don't want to have the visibility.
Fair enough.
Okay. Cool. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then we have here, when we start scrolling down the profile, we will see the about section. We will talk about the about section in a minute. But you will notice that we have a top skills, like just within your about section. The top skills allows the top skills section allows you to put there 5 skills. And basically, these 5 skills will boost your scoring, your SEO strategy. So whenever you match some of these skills, you will get extra points, I would say. But other than influencing the result from the search bar, like the search mechanism, visually, this is way more compelling. Remember about the banner, remember about the headline, and all of a sudden, I am just reaffirming, reinforcing all those skills that I already mentioned. You can see this is from Kyle's, by the way. Next.js, TypeScript, JavaScript, and CSS. It's confirming what he has on his banner, on his headline, right? This is enhancing the profile authority. This is creating a consistency so the LinkedIn search mechanism start prioritizing, start making you score better in the results. Okay. And then we have probably the most hated part of LinkedIn. But I will simplify this a lot for you because you already created your CV. You have already followed all the guidelines that we discussed on the previous webinar. Basically, what I want you to do here, you don't need to make this a rule of thumb. But if you are lazy, as I am, you can just go to your CV right now and you will copy the summary section of your CV.
Mm.
And you will paste the summary section of your CV here. In this case that I put, like, we had a way more elaborated about the use section. So if you have, like, if you are dedicated and you want to create something very interesting for your about you section, keep a TLDR section on top of the profile and the long version doing the homework. But again, if you are lazy as I am, just go to your CV right now. You will copy your summary section and you will paste your summary section on your about you section from LinkedIn. Then you will give a few blank lines there and you will pick, you go back to your CV and you will copy the skills section from your CV and you will paste here. So basically, right now, if you are doing this right now, you have your about section with your summary from your CV and your skills section from your CV. And if you followed the previous webinar, you will see that the categories that we have here, for instance, languages, frameworks, leadership, others, we have discussed this there. We have
Yeah.
categorized your skills, your core competences, you know. So just copy and paste here. Out of the box. Few more points. The words that we have, this, by the way, this screenshot that you are seeing here, it was not from Kyle, but it was a very simple, very simple research that I did for a front end developer using JavaScript, TypeScript, and React. So basically, what you can see in blue is the correspondence of every term that I have inserted from my research. It's here. Like I had added software engineer, I have added agile, I had added software engineer, software front end engineer, and then you can see all the equivalent matches highlighted here.
Yeah.
So as more blue things you see here, and by the way, this is from the recruiters panel as well. Okay, if you search for instance, if you are looking for an engineering manager for your company and you do some research from the regular LinkedIn search bar, you don't see these blue things.
Yep.
This is specifically for the recruiter panel. So as more blue lines, as more blue highlights you see, as stronger your profile is, as better positioned you are in the research for a given role. Cool?
Yep, 100%.
Use and abuse from keyword, folks, please. And then we have the experience section. And probably the experience section is another hated section there from LinkedIn. And it's so boring and so frustrating when I go to a candidate's profile. And I am very excited because somehow the CV took my attention and I want just to do some validations on their LinkedIn. And then I see experiences just with the title. No descriptions, no skills associated to that. It's so boring. It's like we are missing the chance, the validation chance, not only to become more visible, more relevant in searches, but you are missing the chance to validate the assumptions, to validate the value that you deliver. Okay.
Yep.
But because we already have your CV ready from the previous webinar, what you need to do here, excuse me, what you need to do here is open your profile right now and you will set everything that you have written there from your experience. You remember the XYZ impact description?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need to do here. We will put the role, we will set the dates. Here we have one just interesting nuance. On the CV creation, I shared the hack of not mentioning the month. On LinkedIn, you cannot omit the month. You will need to put the month. So there is nothing we can do here regarding the month. Okay. On the CV, just for those who are not aware, I have recommended on the CV for everything that in terms of experience, like in this case, you can see June 2023 to August 2024. The recommendation was to exclude the month because here you will see that I have 1 year and 3 months. Psychologically, when you remove the month, this can be 2 years. You kind of play with the recruiter's mind in terms of Okay, how long this guy
Yeah.
was working for this company, you know? And on LinkedIn, unfortunately, we cannot do this trick. But yeah, copy and paste everything related to your experience to LinkedIn. And one very important recommendation. You can see that I have my XYZ impact description, but at the end of the experience, if you click on
Edit.
edit,
Mm.
you can link specific skills to a given position. And differently from the about section where we can highlight only 5, here sky is the limit. You can highlight, you can link as many skills as you wish in a given experience. For instance, let's take a look on Senior Engineering Manager position at Zendesk. I have 44 skills related to this position. Okay. Everything will provide better authority, will position you in a better way for search, for positioning, for personal branding. Cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But
100%.
imagine that you are now looking for your first opportunity. I don't have any experience. Rest assured, you need to do one very interesting trick here. You will think about what is your desired role. Like right now, you don't have experience. What is your first desired role? Let's be grounded in reality. Okay. Let's not put here like my first role will be software architect. No, it's what? Front end engineer. It's a back end engineer. It's a machine learning engineer. It's a data scientist. You choose. You will pick this desired first role and you will create an experience using this role. Okay. Let's imagine a front end engineer. So I will create one experience. We will click on the plus. We will create a new experience here with the title front end engineer. And then on the company part, you will click self employed. You don't need to create, to relate, to
Mhm.
link your experience to a given company. You can be self employed, you know? And this will play a very critical aspect moving forward. We will get there. But for now, pick, create a new experience, even if you don't have experience. Create a new experience with the desired role that you want, setting it, excuse me, as a self employed. Cool?
Yeah.
You can
That
link,
makes sense.
you can link as much skills, as many skills as you wish to enhance the visibility, to make a stronger experience. You can add some XYZ impact. This can come from past projects that you did. Why not? Okay. But create this experience. And then here is where things start connecting. Most of you does not have experience, but you do have projects. And project can be played, can be framed as an experience. We can make project count as an experience. And the way that we can do this is you will go to your profile, add profile section, projects, and then you will see exactly this screen that I have here. You will select as many skills as you wish, okay? Bear in mind the at least 5, okay? You can add a media. Imagine that this project has a GitHub repo or you have a landing page for this project. Add it here. Okay, please add it here. Specifically because, as I commented in the previous webinar, if you are really playing around projects, you should create projects intentionally. And creating intentional projects means you are creating your pet projects in a production ready state. And because you are creating this in a production ready state, you will have a Git repo, a site, or something like that. So this is seen as a media. And then you will select like the start date and the year. Maybe you can probably when you select the month and the year, if I am not, oh, it's here. I am currently working on this project. Okay, if the project is ongoing, you select this box. Otherwise, it will be required to add the end date. And here is where the magic happens. If you see at the bottom, we have associated with. And when you expand this dropdown, basically, this dropdown will list all your experiences. And what you're going to do, you will link the project to your self-employed experience. This all of a sudden has been converted in a formal experience. Like you have the experience on the experience section from LinkedIn. You have your experience there, the self-employed front-end engineer. And now you are validating, reinforcing, adding authority for this self-employment state by adding a project associated directly with it, with some specific skills, with some specific media, with information about start and end date, which is everything that we need to compose an experience. And guess what? This will boost a lot your profile view. Okay. So, super important. If you don't have experience, this is not an excuse for not adding an experience. You just need to know how to play the game. Okay. And for the time being, 27th November 2024, this is how you play the game.
Nice. We are on the 40 minutes mark. Just wanted to give you.
Kidoki. Social proof, another very, very important thing. If you don't have recommendation, if you don't have experience, as many endorsements and recommendations you get, as better positioned you are as well, because people are just confirming that you have those skills, that you have the experience, they are validating your behaviors and etc. But I don't know employees. No, dude, this is not about employment. This is not about like peers or past managers. I invite you to go right now on your contact list. If you have 10 contacts, if you have 1,000 contacts on your LinkedIn, ask them to endorse you specifically, but not strictly, to the 5 top skills that you have in your profile. Okay. So endorsements counts a lot for skills, and recommendations by itself, like it's another person recommended you. So it adds a special touch, okay, for the profile. So ask for endorsements and ask for recommendations for your friends, for your mother, for your father, for cousins, for peers, for bosses. You choose, but ask for recommendations and ask for endorsements. As I mentioned to you, this is everything that you need to know, like to give a very solid first step on optimizing your LinkedIn. And interestingly enough, for instance, if we look to Caio's profile, Caio was missing interviews for more than 1 month. He wanted to transition from one job to another and etc. And just in 2 or 3 days, I can't remember now, but it was less than 1 week for sure, he got 2 interview requests, all of them coming from LinkedIn and all of them coming from inbound contacts, meaning recruiters reaching out to him, inviting him to interviews. Okay. Pick up your, this will be available. Stefano will share the deck with you. So click on, or you can scan, or you can click on the QR code. Pick up your LinkedIn optimization guide from there. Nice. This is all for LinkedIn. Stefano, how we are in terms of questions? Do we have something?
Nothing so far. As soon as I've got a question, I'll be I'll be sharing that with
Nice.
you.
Now let's close the circle. You created that hell good profile. This is exactly what I call the hire me profile. It's a compelling CV plus a killer LinkedIn profile. Okay. This is everything that you need to start creating visibility, to start creating exposure to your profile. And as you might got, basically by the time that we concluded the CV, we just started copying and pasting with few tweaks. That's why I like to say that LinkedIn is your new CV, because this is your personal branding. This is how you will stand out. You need first to create, you need first to introspect and understand how you can create your CV. And from the CV, you move to LinkedIn. And because you created so much exposure, so much visibility, you started getting invitations to join interviews. But you actually don't know how the hell you can play this game. But the thing is, tech interviews, it's somehow quite linear. Probably 80%, 90% of the interviews structure that we have for tech positions will follow somehow exactly these steps: a tech recruiter call, hiring manager, a code challenge, depending on the role, a system designs interview, maybe a tech panel, and closing with a cultural fit. We will explore each of these steps, but this for sure depends a lot on the role that you are applying and the seniority of the role that you are applying. For instance, if you are applying to an internship position, most likely you won't have a system design because it doesn't make sense at all to discuss architectural nuances with someone that is starting the career. So bear this in mind. Like, it's linear, but with some specific nuances related to the job that you are applying and the seniority of the job that you are applying. Okay. Let's start with a very basic one: tech recruiters. Tech recruiters seems easy, right? But it's tricky as hell, because especially for you, for us that is starting a new career in tech, our default mode is I will shine by discussing about my technical skills. I will shine to demonstrate how deep I am investing my knowledge and my effort on learning Python, on learning machine learning, on learning whatever fancy skills that you have. But this step is with a non-technical person. So the probability that you say banana and the other person hears apple, it's way too big. So we need to find a balance here. It's not that much technical, because at the end of the day, the technical aspect is important for our job. But you also need to highlight some other traits, the soft skills, as we were mentioning in the previous live, you know? And the tech recruiter here works in this mode. The tech recruiter is not a technical person, but they are handling a technical job offer, right? They are driving a technical interview. They are talking with technical folks. But what they do is they look for specific nuances from the job description. So imagine that the hiring manager is looking for someone with a strong abilities on Java, with desire to learn front end and blah blah blah. This recruiter, this non-technical person, will be tuned exactly on these nuances. They are tuned on the keywords, on how you will connect somehow the job description, their job requirements to specific nuances that they have. So basically, let's think about the ATSs, the application tracking systems. They are doing here something very, very similar, but now they have chosen a few profiles and then they are just validating these profiles. There are a few things that will happen here that you need to prepare. They will ask for your motivation. They most likely will ask about your strengths, your why do you want the drivers and the motivation, why you want to join the company, how you will add value to the table, your availability to start, your desired salary, the type of contract, if you have availability to commute or not, to remote, that's the primary role of the tech recruiter. It's just filtering the candidates on the first page, and the way that they do this, they look for keywords. They look for some specific nuances that they read from job descriptions. Usually, this is a 30, 45-minute session. More than 45-minute session, it's too much. Too much, not common. Usually, it's 30 minutes, okay? Because it's a very quick call. This is just it's a screening. Like, it's the first impression. It's your way. It's the first opportunity to make the good impression and to answer those three objections. Why should I spend time on you? Why you are important, and how you want to? How should I interpret your profile? This is just a confirmation. Okay. However, we have a very specific nuance here. You might have the tech recruiter step or not. I can say that at Zendesk, the majority of the roles that we had, basically we had the hiring managers doing this first call. Okay. So from the regular, like following the happy path, you got approved on the recruiter phase. The recruiter wants to introduce you to the hiring manager. In many companies, the hiring manager, it's your potential future boss. It's the responsible for that position, meaning that it can be an engineering lead, an engineering manager, or a senior engineering manager. Okay. Most likely, depending on the role. If you are looking for an engineering manager, probably it will be a director of engineering. Yeah. But sticking to the software engineer role, probably the person responsible for that, it's an engineering leader, an engineering manager, or a senior engineering manager. And the thing is, because they are engineering leaders, they have technical background. But here is where you want to demonstrate your tech skills. You want to adapt your language to a more technical pace. You will use some of the fancy jargons that you have because you need to demonstrate that you have some technical skills. You might have some very basic engineering and technical questions here, but it's not usual. The most common behavior, most common path that this step entangles is a behavioral interview. So you can expect a mix of behavioral and technical topics, but way more behavioral topics rather than the technical ones. It's just a very, very small validation from the technical side in the majority of the companies. This is not like a rule of thumb, but usually this is a way more behavioral rather than technical topic. And here, the conversation extends a bit more. Usually it's a 45 minutes, but I see some of these sessions happening up to 1 hour. Okay. So takeaways from here. Now we are talking with a technical person, but in a leadership position. You can expect behavioral questions like how you handle conflict, describe me how you manage your time, describe me how If you pick a task XPTO, how you deliver this task, describe how you deliver this, describe how you do a pull request review, how you clarify requirements, stuff like that, plus some technical topics like what is solid principle, something like that, like describe what is a polymorphism or something like that. Depends on the role. Okay. So these are the two takeaways. I really love, because this is a behavioral interview, I really love to use the STAR method. The STAR method, it's a way that you can prepare a few cases like conflict management. I want to prepare cases for conflict management. The STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. So it invites you to reflect in a specific situation what you had to do, the task, what you did to accomplish this task, the actions, and what you got as the outcome of executing these tasks in this specific situation, the results. Okay. I have a very specific guide on the STAR method to help you to introspect and understand how you can use this on the interview. So again, scan the code or pick the resources later on the deck. It's available for you there. And then things start getting tricky and more interesting. We have now the tech challenge. The tech challenge, you have a completely different audience from the other two steps. Basically, on the tech challenge, actually you have two flavors. We need to discuss about the flavors of tech challenge. You might have a takeaway challenge, which is someone will send you a set of specifications and you need to create a code challenge and submit this via zip file or in a GitHub or whatever. So you get the requirements in a PDF, in an email or whatever. You execute the solution based on that requirements, and then you submit this. This is the tech challenge in a takeaway form. You have another tech challenge in a takeaway form, which is for those who use LeetCode or HackerHank, which is the recruiter will invite you to a specific platform to solve X, Y, and Z problems there. Usually these problems are algorithm problems. Okay. But we also have the live coding challenges. And probably here is where the best engineers become babies and they lose the opportunity. Whenever we see a live coding challenge, just by the name, we feel the anxiety. We feel nervous. We start sweating. We might have all the knowledge, but all of a sudden we know everything. We forget about how to search on Google. Okay. But fear not. There is some steps to follow up here. The first thing, if you are invited to a live coding challenge, it means that this is a purely technical audience. Senior engineer, from senior engineer to senior engineer. Probably future peers, probably like might be a tech lead there, like tech leads, like architect or something like that. It might happen. Okay, so the takeaway here, audience, it's purely technical. So adjust your vocabulary, adjust your attitude, your behavior. Now you are swimming in the ocean from the technical folks. So you need to do it accordingly. Okay, it's important for sure to play around. And here is where the majority of people miss the point, which is live coding challenge is not about creating the best code. Live coding challenges is not about you making a monologue. Live coding challenges is not about creating the most fancy ultra mega power code. No. Live, pay attention on the bold word here, peers. And because you are talking with your potential peers, You need to drive this conversation as a daily task. I know it's easier said than done, but in a daily basis, how do you solve a problem? You ask questions, you make assumptions, you validate assumptions, you challenge other assumptions, you try, you fail, you try a different one, discussing about what failed. You iterate, you start from the scratch, you increment, you understand the new requirements, you clarify other assumptions. Do you see how the dynamic plays completely different than just like sweating as hell, like, oh my god, life coding challenge in 10 minutes. And
If
then
I
the hard stuff.
if I can, two keywords:
Yeah,
communication and collaboration. Try to treat that as a pairing exercise.
exactly,
This is
exactly.
how the way in which these things should be treated.
Yes, yes, it's 100%, 100%. And on top of that, express your thoughts clearly. This is, I don't know if we will have time to discuss about the Strive framework, but express your thoughts clearly. Like, it's just say out loud everything that comes to your mind, because what we are evaluating here is not your capability to build code. It's your capability to understand the problem. It's your capability to to critical thinking, to collaborate, to make the right questions. So just talk, just ask, just challenge. Okay. So frame this in a more easier way, folks. I understand that this is hard, but start slowly framing this as a daily task that you will sit with some folks and solve a problem together. Okay. Uh, this is a longer session, usually 1 hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay. At Zendesk, we have this session as a 90 minutes. So it's a bit extensive. But focus future peers. And then we have the design thinking panel, the design thinking steps, which is basically the same thing. Future peers, like the collaboration, the communication, starts from the ground. The biggest issue that I see here, the biggest challenge is people just want to create the perfect solution in the first try. Focus on the problem, understand the problem first, then you create the solution. This is basic on engineering. So follow this principle and everything will connect, build from there. Okay. And then depending on the role that you are applying, this is more for senior roles and leadership roles, you might face a step called tech panel. And the tech panel basically is composed by peers, like other senior engineers, tech leaders. You might have one engineering manager here as well, and stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, we can put an AKA here. For instance, if you are a front end engineer, probably you will have a product manager and a product design folks here, representing the stakeholders. So, what is tricky? You have technical audience, but mixed with a non-technical audience. And the role here is not to discuss technical things, but it's in your to evaluate your capability to work in a cross-functional environment, in a collaboration-driven environment. Like if you are working with product, probably you should focus on your desire to understand the whys, your desire to understand all the constraints around this, your desire to understand how this feature will influence on the business success, you know. So despite having technical folks, don't fall into this trap. This is a cross-functional and collaboration-driven evaluation. It's how you would work in your daily basis with other folks from the project. In a software development setup, it's pretty common that you have like cross-functional teams, backenders, backenders, frontenders, QAs, one engineering manager or lead, product manager, and a product designer. This is the most common setup that we have. And basically this tech panel, it's to evaluate how you work in this profile. Okay. Usually it's a 45, 60-minute session. It's a very fun one. That's probably my preferred step on interviews, the tech panels. Then, if you are if you are approved on the tech panel, you have one last step, which is called the cultural fit. And the cultural fit usually is with a senior leader. It's the representative of that department. For instance, a director, a VP of engineering. If you are working in a small startup, probably the CTO. Okay, so it's with a senior leader. And here I need you to be patient because I would say 99% of the questions that you will be asked here, you already answered them in the 1,000 other previous steps that you did. So be patient. Okay. Bear in mind that you are one step from the finish line. Practice the self-regulation, practice the active listening, and just keep pushing. This is 100% focused on a behavioral, like 100% it's too much, but majority of the cultural fit, the title, like cultural fit, it's behavior, like how you will contribute to the company values, principles, like validating team dynamics. If you are working in some small startups, the CTO might ask about some more basic questions, technical questions, but it's not that much common. Okay. So it's way more, I like to say that this is a step where you will discuss with the person that is the gatekeeper for the team and for the company.
Also, because if you reach that stage, in theory, your technical skills have been already evaluated from previous steps. That's why it's not that common to further discuss, technicalities.
Yeah. I have a very opinionated perspective on this. Like, depending on the role, I think it makes sense. Like, if you are hiring a director or a senior manager, it makes sense having the cultural fit. But I don't like in specific this step for the senior engineer positions, because especially on this setup where you had 5, 6 previous steps, I see the cultural fit at this stage just a tool to feed the ego. It's just a confirmation that actually, like, it's just to say, I am approving this person. But this is just my opinion.
Some companies, they don't have the technical panel, so they jump from the technical assessment to this. So to have this, in on top of the technical panel, it's a little bit, too much, to be honest.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. And that basically was the setup when I joined Zendesk. We had exactly this setup. But live coding challenge, system designs, then the tech panel, and then the cultural fit. Too much. Okay, so basically that's the step. I just want to focus on one thing here that you might see. We are living in a moment where you can have very extensive panels, processes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, a process with 6 steps, but you might have processes with 2 or maybe at most 3 steps. Very normal, very common, but I just want to highlight one specific cultural nuance that you should be aware of. When you have a company providing such a lengthy process, this means that this company, it's very concerned about the quality of the candidate that they are bringing. So they are exhausting the resources to ensure that they are hiring the right person, because they focus on stability. they focused on the long term gain. They are not focusing on hiring and eventually like to fire the person in 1 year. Okay, when you see these lengthy processes, which it sucks, but here you have a very interesting nuance. Like this is a company that most likely is focusing on the quality of the candidate. They are focusing on the stability. Okay, so if you cross all the 6 steps, most likely you are in a good position here in terms of stability of your job. But there are companies that really shrink the process to hire fast. And the danger with hiring fast is they also are willing to fire fast because it's an intrinsic risk that if you are reducing the number of steps, directly you are reducing the QA process for that candidate. So you have way less time to validate the technical nuances, to validate the dynamics, and then basically it's hoping for the best and betting on the gut feeling that you are making a good call. Okay? But the trade-off from faster processes is whenever you get a job, you sign the contract, you will notice that you have a probation period. And during the probation period is where the company or yourself can decide if the contract will move forward or not. And because companies reducing the hiring process to the minimum, they are more likely like open to use the probation period clause, meaning I will hire faster, I will hire fast, and I will fire faster because it's a bet. Short time to reduce, I don't know, like I just have the feeling that I am hiring the right candidate. Not sure. But if we eventually hire someone that it's not a good fit, yeah, we fire this person in a before their probation period. Just bear in mind in this specific nuance because it's pretty common that we don't pay attention on this like this cultural signal regarding the cultural signal that the hiring process steps send to us. So lengthy processes, in theory, more stable positions, focused on the long term, focused on the high quality candidates. Shorter interview processes, like good for the candidates, faster feedback, and etc. But more risks, hire fast, fire faster, probation period. This is how I have mapped and I have seen and I am applying the hiring process structure in the majority of the companies. Maybe Stefano can share some bits here for us regarding how he does the hiring process at time. But that's the majority of the process that I am seeing around, and that's what I would expect for 2025. And that's it. I really appreciate the attention. Any questions?
Nice one. Thanks, Rafael. I really appreciate that. That was a very insightful. So, whilst we wait for a few questions, folks, feel free to type your question in the chat. Yeah, maybe whilst we wait for that, a couple of things from my side. So, I think one very important distinction, exactly what you explained, plus minus one step, or maybe with a very few tweaks. That's the hiring processes for software engineers, senior engineers at different levels in quote unquote normal companies. What do I mean by normal companies? Fun companies, so the likes of Google, Meta, Amazon, and whatnot, they often run a little bit of a different hiring process, which is oftentimes you've got at least a couple of filters. So might be a phone screen, might be a very basic technical challenge. But then if you go through them, what they often do, they would invite you over on site for pretty much almost the whole day, and you are expected to do between 4 and 6 back to back during the same day. And especially for a software engineer role, all of these things, or the vast majority, are DSA, so data structure, algorithms. So you have 1 hour with one person, another hour with a different person talking about different problems, and so on. So when you are in that bubble, is a very specific interview process, which does not happen in other companies, if that makes sense. So me, for what is my experience, I've never done, nor I ever run any technical section of the interview process where I ask, or I've been asked, to do some lead code. Never done it in almost 20 years that I work. This is not because I'm good or I'm bad, or because the types of company that I've been working for, they were more interested to test me about real work cases. So I was always being a front-end engineer, so I've done tons of take-home tests, tons of live code challenges, tackling a React problem, a JavaScript problem, that kind of stuff. Fang and big companies, they oftentimes do a different approach because they are gigantic, right? So they don't often hire for that team. So you've been hired, let's say Google, you've been hired to be a Google engineers, and then the team matching happens pretty much when they've extended the offer to you. So that's why this is the main reason why fund companies needs to test you in a agnostic way, if that makes sense, and they try to test you only doing lead code or DSI things. So it's a little bit different. Not every single company hires in the same way, if that makes sense. Last thing, we've got a question. Last thing before we answer that, please, this is very important. Especially, pretty much in any of the steps that Raphael said, even hiring manager step, live coding step, cultural fit step. Always, at the end of the hour, 45 minutes, 90 minutes, your interviewer, or the people in the panel, for example, they will always leave between 5 and 10 minutes at the end to give you the time to ask question. And that happened to me a couple of times. I've been through, from a hiring manager point of view, a 30-minute session with a candidate where I explain things. And pretty much when I ask, okay, do you have any question for me or for the team? And people say, no, I'm fine. For the love of God, don't do that. That is a really bad signal, is considered a red flag. How is that possible that you don't have any questions whatsoever about how we work, about, so it's very important when you prep for interviews, try to think about asking questions that make sense, not like when is the lunch break, how many days do I need to come to the office. Try to think about meaningful questions, because I can guarantee you that has an impact. That has an impact that can make or break that kind of interview. We have a couple of questions. So,
Awesome.
Eileen, for the recommendation section on LinkedIn, would asking a high school teacher suitable?
I would say that every recommendation is suitable. because despite not have, like, imagine that you are not getting a recommendation specifically for a tech experience, but this teacher can emphasize your growth mindset, your desire to make questions, your willingness to learn new things, the performance, So every recommendation counts, and every recommendation adds extra points in specific areas. In this case, for instance, the example that I gave, it might confirm soft skills. Like it might add authority to your profile from the standpoint of soft skills. It's a great team player. I need someone that asks the right questions. I need someone that it's willing to go beyond that specific card, like someone that asks the why. So every recommendation matters.
Exactly. It's better to have that recommendation than no recommendation, pretty much. Okay, that was yeah, that made sense. So another question from Venkat. Hello, I'm sorry that I haven't attended the previous session, but wanted to know about the optimal CV length. This is one of the,
A
pretty
big
typical
topic.
question. Is it one or two pager? I assure you that I will revisit the session.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, there is no optimal length. Like, if you want to build a CV, like in a very short answer, recruiters have 20 seconds to make a decision. Usually, this decision is made in 5-6 seconds. If you have a CV of 10 pages, but can drive the recruiter to read everything that they need to read in a short time span, why not? Okay, so I do. This probably was a topic that we spent a lot of time discussing in the previous webinar.
Yeah.
I do recommend, because this is, we could spend all the night long discussing about 1 pagers, 2 pagers, 30 pagers CV. I do recommend to take a look on the previous webinar. This was a very detailed discussion that we had. And yeah, but don't get too much stuck about 1, 2, or n pages. Get stuck with, if you are answering 3 main objections in your CV, how you want to be perceived. Like, if I look to your CV, I need to understand what is your desired role. When I look to your CV, I need to understand how you add value to the table. This means, why should I spend time reading your CV? And the third one, it's the confirmation. Why are you exceptional? What do you have differently from the others? Instead of thinking about 1 or 2 pages, think about answering these 3 objections, and then you build from there. You might end with a CV with 4 pages, and then you start trimming and cutting the fluffiness and getting the optional version. But what I see is that people spend too much time in this endless discussion about how many pages should I create. Create the CV. 10 pages at the end. Create the CV. And then you build from there, having these 3 objections in mind. Desired role, how do you want to be perceived? Why should I spend time reading your CV? And how you stand out from the crowd? Why are you special? Focus on these 3 objections instead of the CV number of pages, and check out the previous webinar, because we have a very nice discussion about this.
Yeah, very, very well said. So I think what's really important, first thing first, I don't believe that you would not get a job because you haven't done, oh, I've done 2 pages and I've not been listed. And the reason why, because it was 2 pages instead of 1. That is almost never happened. So I would not worry too much. What can happen, and I saw that multiple times, I saw people so fixated and so focused about, I got to do only 1 page. And they do that, but by doing that, they are cramming everything in 1 page with an awful formatting, with no spacing whatsoever. So I can guarantee you that within the first 3 seconds, where me as a hiring manager, I cannot read the CV. Is unreadable. Everything is font 6. Is like so small. Everything is so. I would much rather read a 2 pager that is readable, that as the words can breathe. It's has to be also easy to read, because you can have the best content in that CV, but if you don't allow me to read it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Within 3 seconds, everything is cramped. I'm not gonna bother. So
Yeah.
please bear that in mind. Focus on that instead of 1 or 2 pages.
Yeah. And you have another interesting nuance here. Imagine that we have a good formatting, the CV is readable, pleasant to identify the information there, and we have a one pager. But we are not strategic enough on the CV. And for some reason, the most significant part of the information that adds value to my profile, it's at the bottom of that one pager CV. And because you are not delivering the value that you need from top to bottom, a one pager failed. Because I like to say, I will bring the analogy back. Not the analogy, but a CV must tell a story. And the story has a beginning, a development, and an ending. It holds emotion, it delivers emotion, it holds tension. This is exactly what you need to do with your CV. You will prioritize things like you will introduce yourself with a nice summary, like first impressions. Oh, damn, I want to keep reading the CV. And then you deliver there some core competences if you are building a skill based, and it's, oh, I like what I am seeing. No, Java, some nice technology, some nice soft skills. Let me keep pushing. And then some nice projects and say, I want to keep pushing. So a CV needs to be created in a very, very strategic way. So a one page can like nail the process, or a one pager CV can fail miserably because you are not delivering the impact where you need to deliver the impact. So forget about the pages discussion. Focus on answering these three objections and build from there.
100%. I'm about to say something controversial, but I might I would like to have to read a 2 pagers that hook me up. So, and I'm the first one. As soon as I go to the bottom of the one page. Okay, let me see what's the. It's like almost reading a book, right? So
Yeah.
you want to carry on. Of course, should not be, especially for a very junior. We're talking, clearly our audience for this is junior people that are approaching the professional world. To have 7 pages probably does not make sense, because you like, what are you, what in the world, have you done at 20 something years old to fill 7 pages? So, but
Yeah.
between 1 and 2, because this is pretty much what the what the battle is, I would much rather have a 2 pagers well done that really hook me up, and I'm the first one. Let me also see page 2. Let me keep validating,
Mhm.
because what I, at the end of the day, as Raphael was saying, even if you, is not even if half a page, right? Why don't we do, half a page? Because first and first, you cannot communicate properly the things that you want to. But if, even if half a pager is not done well, I stop reading after line 2.
Mhm.
So you know what I mean? It's not a battle about that. Try to focus, try to do that well.
And this is actually, yeah, by the way, I don't think this is controversial. And maybe I am biased because I love this mindset, and that's the way that I think every hiring manager should evaluate a CV. But it's interesting when we start thinking about How many great candidates have we lost because of a bad CV? Because people just don't know how to pitch for
Plenty,
themselves.
plenty.
You know, like a lot. I'm pretty much sure that we are losing great candidates because they just think a CV it's a piece of paper that I need to get a call here.
Hmm.
My friend, if you don't play the game serious and intentionally, it's not gonna happen. You will be
Yeah,
just one more in the ocean of 300, 200 candidates.
in the piles of
Yeah,
rejection, unfortunately. So
yeah,
put some work up front, build your CV, put some time there, because then it's gonna pay dividends
yeah, yeah.
down the line. All right, folks. No other questions. So we are pretty much at the 90 minutes mark. I would say that that has been a very successful and insightful session. So I would like to again thank you, Raphael.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's been such an insightful session. Thank you so much, both of you. Thanks, Han. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So we with this one we pretty much wrap it up. And CV previous session, this session was more about LinkedIn and interview tips. So hopefully, yeah, you've got a few more um things in your few more tools to play with, and hopefully they will be valuable, and they will help you in order to secure an internship, a full-time position. We really hope that. Once again, thanks, Raphael. Thanks, everyone. Wish you a fantastic evening, and see you at the next one.
See you, folks. Thank you.